Well, good evening, Winthrop Votes. Episode, 51, 52? Where are we? Does anybody know?
And I'm redoing the it had my podcast.
Oh boy.
There we go. I always forget something.
He's doing the technical difficulties thing.
Yeah, it was up at the title of the live stream was Milk Crates and Turntables podcast, which is my Wednesday podcast, and get people confused.
Right.
But, yeah, welcome to Winthrop Votes.
So you ever remember? I don't remember what this opening was for, but back in the 70s, I think it was the 70s. You spanning the globe to bring you the latest.
We were just talking about that the other day. That's the wide world of sports.
Is it? Yeah. All right. Well, tonight we're spanning the globe.
Of the feast.
Yeah. We're bringing you from the City of Light live. Jeffrey Rosario Turco.
Yeah.
Before we bring this guy on, though, this guy is non-stop working. I mean, he's in Paris. He's with his daughter. He's having a daddy-daughter trip, and he's so committed to the people of the communities he serves that he's willing to come on this. I'll call us this ham and egger program to help us promote.
We moved from ham and eggs to a beefsteak and eggs.
All right, we've upgraded.
We're up to like that really cheap, like steakums and eggs. We'll call it steakums and eggs.
I thought you were gonna go like real nice cut filet, London broil.
Yeah, buddy, we're not there yet. Steakums and eggs.
Oh yeah, steakums and eggs, steakums and white eggs, not even brown ones.
Well, let's wait while we're waiting for some people to come into the live stream. How was your weekend, man?
Oh, it was good. Football started, and it was fun. It was fun to watch the kids play ball, so that's good.
Good.
How about you with the kitchen renovations? Your living room looked like hell.
It was so Thursday. I had friends fly in from Houston and Maryland, and Friday from Boston for my 22nd annual fantasy football draft.
Oh, nice.
My house was packed on Saturday. The buffet was, as usual, off the charts, and then took everybody to the airport yesterday and today, and they gutted my kitchen this morning. So and that's actually quieter than my friends being at my house. So
wow. That's really not that's interesting. Yeah. So are you staying there or are you staying out?
No, we're good. We're here. Just a little adjustment on the menus and cooking and all that stuff. But in 2 weeks, he'll have it from gutted to brand new in 2 weeks.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, my guy's good.
So I was looking at numbers just before we get too far into this. And interestingly, in the last 60 days, we've had about 13,000 unique visits to our group. And that's not watching the videos, to be transparent, but it is interacting. So there's people out there watching.
I mean, these live streams average minimum couple hundred a week on the reviews. So that I'm not worried about in a small town like that, on a small live stream like this. But like I always say, we're moving the needle. Yes, we have the town's attention, and hopefully it's for the good causes. You know, they look at it as good at least. So
right, that's right.
All right.
So yeah, why don't we bring on the big guy?
Without further ado, let's bring in State Rep Jeff Turco.
There he is.
There he is.
good evening, good morning, depending on where you're at. You know,
Yeah.
hope all is
What are
well.
you, 6 hours ahead, right?
Yeah, it's 2:00, 2:05 a.m. right now.
I can't believe you're up doing this.
Yeah, trust me, I can't believe I'm up. It's been a long day. we started the day breakfast at 7 a.m. This time, which would be 1:00 your time, and then they had a quick breakfast, quick train ride down to a bus. So we went down to we spent the day at Disney Paris, and stayed there till the end at 11:30. And by the time we got home, I said I just need to nap for a little while before I do this. So I closed my eyes for about 15 minutes before I came on this.
I can't believe you woke up. That's
so,
it. It's over.
But back at it tomorrow. 2 more days here, and then we're coming home. So
this is pure dedication, absolutely, to your people, and we appreciate you giving your time to us to bring. Well, you have some good news. You have some kind of good news. Yeah, what's the latest?
Yeah, well, we've been collecting cans in order to pay for Todd's electric bill, so those lights stop blinking. Because so we're working on that. You know,
I mean, you can help a brother out. You know how much work I did for you over the years.
Robinson, but God said I want you to raise this $500, or I will shut God's lights off.
We're having a bad connection.
No, but when Todd reached out to me, I wasn't looking at the calendar thinking, hey, I'd be here overseas on a little father-daughter trip with my 15-year-old. But I was excited to have the opportunity because we ended the first full legislative session that I've been a member of, and ended with quite an interesting turn of events at the end. And between the governor signing off on the budget, when there was some critical vetoes that he did. There was a huge wind bill that was passed that's going to make Massachusetts the leader nationwide for wind energy, offshore energy, and it's really going to transform the industry in Massachusetts and in the nation. So I think that's a great thing that's happened. I've been talking about locally before I left. One of the bills that I was opposed to was this marijuana equity bill, and the point of the bill would be the Commonwealth would create a bank, and we're using some of the tax revenue that comes in, and then in essence make that money from the bank available to people of color to be able to buy into the business. Because one of the concerns that proponents of marijuana legalization have is that frankly, white people are able to come up with the money necessary to buy in, and people of color are not. And so, but as part of the bill, the House and Senate had different versions of the bill. And then the last night of the session at 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, quote unquote conference committee report comes out, and the House and Senate worked out the differences, but they added this section of the bill that, as I sat there reading it, section I think was 26, and basically they said we're going to create a commission to study what public and private schools are doing with respect to allowing kids with medical marijuana cards to be able to use marijuana products in the schools. And when you at first it seems like, well, who's opposed to a commission? But then when you read it, the actual language of the commission directs them to come up with rules and regulations to basically mandate this. And there was no restriction on age. There was no, we're going to say this should be done in high school only, and I looked at it, I said, this is crazy. And so there was no debate on it. There was no discussion. It came up, it was gavelled through. And so I wrote a letter to the governor and urged him. I said, how did we get from the fact that we used to say, just say no, to all of a sudden, toke it up in the schools? This is crazy.
Yeah, great point.
And so, and even friends of mine that disagree with me on the marijuana issue, that are pro pot, said this is just a bridge too far. And in fact, the governor, to his credit, his people called me, said the governor agreed with me. In fact, the governor talked about, that the law that was passed by the voters expressly said we wouldn't be allowing this in schools. And he vetoed that section, sent it back to the Senate, where it'll die a slow, painful death. So it was a huge end of the session for me as a freshman rep to be able to have some level of influence with the governor to get him to do that. I was thrilled to see it happen.
Well, it's great to see that in politics, sometimes common sense does take precedence.
I'd
Yeah.
actually say that the reason when common sense does take precedence, it's when someone actually just implements it and makes the case. I mean, if you've never had the opportunity, and this is for everybody watching, to watch or listen to hear, and I hate to say this because I don't like him, but if you ever had the opportunity to listen to him speak and reason things out, it you can't help but at least be intrigued or persuaded to some degree to listen more, because there's a whole lot of common sense in there. But I want to say, Jeff, I mean, I'm one of your friends that is pro cannabis for people of age, and I applaud what you did. I'm still of the mindset that you keep it away from the minors. Period. The end of story. I mean, you're not even supposed to have it near a school district as a non-medical person. So why would it be okay for someone underage, if you will, with a prescription? So bravo on that point.
Thank you. Somebody asked a question. It's 2 a.m. or 2 now. It's 2:11 a.m. in Paris. So
I think that might be DeMarco.
Was that French water that you just drank?
It's Vittel, yes, something like that. Where, can you see it?
I bet you it tastes just like this water over in America. I bet you it tastes exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is right now for foreign travel is the dollar and the euro basically at parity. And so, 2 years ago, I took my oldest boy, we went to Rome, and it was more like $1.60 to a euro.
Yeah.
So when you went and bought a bottle of water for €2, €2, it was costing you $3.20 US. Well, now it's $1 to $1 to a euro. I think it was 104 when I took money out of the bank yesterday. So
all right,
pretty good.
You don't have to do much math.
Good time to travel if you like. We flew on this. I thought I was going to have to flap my wings and play airline out of Iceland to get here. But so it's nice and cheap compared to other flights. But so look up Play Airline if you like it.
So you guys are on break now. So
we're on break. We the legislature meets so the formal sessions ended technically July 31st at midnight. In fact, it officially midnight was extended till August 1st at about 10 a.m. We went all night. It was the first time I've experienced that. When I went into the chamber, I was talking to a bunch of the more seasoned reps that I'm friends with. And what do you think? They said, well, last year we were here till 4:30, but we think this year we should be done by 2. So 2 o'clock came, 3 o'clock came, 4 o'clock. So finally I go to my office. I have this beautiful thing called a Keurig in my office. So I go down and make myself a coffee, and I walk into the chamber, and one of the reps, who's a few decades older than me, says, "Where did you get that?" I said, "I got a Keurig in my office." She was, "I'd kill to have a coffee right now." Sure. So I was running around handing out coffee, building up good relations.
The traveling barista.
Did anyone say thanks, rookie?
Yeah.
No, they called him a plebe.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was in the back of my head. I said, I don't want them thinking I'm some coffee boy or something. But at 4 or 5 in the morning, we were all so desperate just to stay awake that I think people were genuinely thrilled to have a nice fresh hot cup of coffee. So it was good. And again, it gives you an opportunity to sit there and kibitz with people and talk about what's going on in the district, what's going on. And, it's just as a quick backstory, the reason the session ends on July 31st. So it's a 2-year session. So assuming I'm successful, I get elected September and November of this year, I'll get sworn in January, and it's 2 full years at that point, 2023 and 24. The legislative session, formal session, ends July 31st of 24. And the reason they did that was Tom Finneran, when he was speaker, said he didn't want a lame duck legislature voting on proposals after people had already been voted out of office. He didn't want people to be voting on stuff and doing it for political reasons as opposed to good policy reasons during a campaign season. And so he said, we're going to end the legislative session on July 31st. That way people can go focus on their campaigns to the extent that they need to do that. And then we still meet in what's called informal session every 2 days a week. The House meets an informal session but anything that passes has to pass by unanimous approval. And if it's going to pass unanimously in the House, unanimously in the Senate, and then if the governor doesn't like it, it's dead. Right. So in certain things you can't vote on in an informal session. Bond bills, transfers of land, those require a live in-person vote. So
you're in a campaign, right?
Yes, right I'm fortunate that I am unopposed, and I'd like to think that's because people see that I've worked tirelessly to represent the people of Winthrop and Revere, whether it's obviously I come from a more conservative bent philosophically, and I know for some people that caused some level of concern, but I think the fact that I've taken the lead on something like, for example, the Wheelabrator fight, closing down the last unlined saltwater marsh landfill in the entire country. It's an eyesore. It's an ecological disaster waiting to happen, and the fact that I've taken a lead on that, I think, has brought me into good relations with other members of the community that might not normally support my type of Democrat. But I'd like to think that the reason I don't have an opponent this time around is because people see that I'm working hard. They don't always agree with me, but I always call people back. I always take respond to their emails, always respond to phone calls, and let them know here's why I voted the way I did. And I've got people that, I've had some, of course I keep privacy for people when they email me or call me. I had somebody call me and tell me I was an F&A hole because how I voted on a certain bill. I called the person back, said, here's why I voted no, A, B, and C. Well, you're still an a-hole. Okay, well, thank you. But at least I told you why I voted no. But I think it's a sad commentary on politics today that, but again, part of it is on, these things become so emotional now. I think the press drives the emotion in society and politics. And I think that's dangerous to our body politic, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, it happens here locally too, though. I send emails to the full council, to individual councilors, and I barely get responses, if any. I get one or two from the people you'd expect, and then I'd get none from some of the people I'd expect too. So I don't know. I like that. I'm bringing that point up because, I've been with Jeff since his beginning, and we've gone through a lot of work. And the one thing that's been consistent, and someone just posted it, Jeff is one of the most honest politicians, hands down. He means what he says. He says what he means, and if he gives you his word, it's gold. And in my mind, I don't care how much money you have, planes, boats, houses. The only thing you really have is your word. That's it. It's the only thing you truly own, and not enough people respect that.
So Kurt Millard just messaged in, and these questions you could take them or not, Jeff. It's up to you. So he says, Jeff, how do you feel about the current ORC changes submitted?
Yeah, a lot of it. I support a lot of it. As a voter, I would vote for. I would assume that the changes, if they make it to the voter, will come as a series of questions. And I've talked to Todd, I've talked to the chairman of the committee, about some of the proposals, and I do support some of them. And I think that the council ought to give it. I'm not going to tell the council what they ought to do, but I think the council, the charter sets up a role for the ORC, but it also sets up a role for the council. And now the council has to decide: do they want to give the people the opportunity to be heard on it or not? And they'll make an informed decision as to what they'll do. But I do think that there's a lot of there's some really good ideas in the ORC. I applaud them for the work that they did, particularly because I was the chair of the ORC that, frankly, it was in the middle of a campaign season, and just sort of because of COVID and because of a campaign, it sort of fell apart. And so the fact that the new ORC stepped up to the plate, and I applaud Jim Lettieri for getting it organized. And frankly, I know, to Jim's credit, he put together a committee that wasn't wasn't a lapdog for him, because I know that I've heard conversation on the street about certain proposals that were liked or disliked and didn't fit into a particular viewpoint, and I applaud him for saying, hey, I'm picking you guys to use your best judgment as citizens of this community on how we can improve our charter. And even if he ultimately comes across with, he may not agree with everything, just like I may not agree with everything. I thought that was a great move.
Well, and I think he and you are I don't want to say you're outright saying it, but intimating that the work that we did, the voters should have a chance to vote on it. I've been banging the drum since we completed the mission, if you will, that the folks who are trying to make some pretty, I think, elitist type of changes, for lack of a better word, like wanting to we have a recall provision in there, and there's folks that are wanting safeguards, so things you can and cannot recall. And I feel like that screams we don't trust the community. And I think the community should be heard on it. I hope a lot of people watch us and watch the replay and get informed and send emails to your counselors to give you the opportunity to vote on it in its current form, as barring any legal challenges that we might be facing or procedural issues or any of that sort of stuff.
Sounds
well, because part of the challenge, I'm sorry for cutting you, Scott, is part of the challenge is if you put together a committee like this and they go out and they do their work and they're diligent about it, like this committee was, and then if you sort of put their work product by the wayside, and don't give it an opportunity to be heard, you run the risk the next time people say, well, why would I invest my time and effort into such a project? You're just going to choose to ignore it anyway. And so, I mean, I think there's a danger there. Again, I'm not saying that the council should rubber stamp everything, but I think there's a danger there if you don't put, if you don't take a real keen eye to this and say, what's the harm in letting the voter, weigh in on this stuff?
I don't see why the council could tamper with any of it. If you put the committee together, and like you said, Jeff, it'll be put out in a series of questions, right, to vote. Why would the council have, okay, we're going to cherry pick this. We're going to say, we don't want that. We want that. What you just talked about as far as the recall provision. It's like asking a senator and a congressman to vote on term limits.
Right.
And usually they're not going to do that. It's like, it's a self-inflicted wound. It's self-preservation to not vote on that. So these people that are sitting at the town council, like, well, I might be the one that gets recalled, so I don't want that. That's why they shouldn't be tampering with it. It should just go to the people. Jim put the committee together. Like you said, Jeff, they worked diligently to get this done. It's just a series of questions. That's it. Put it to the people.
But the only thing I would say to you, Scott, again, and I'm agnostic on, on ultimately what each council is going to use their informed judgment on what to do. But I think it's important to say, I mean, the charter says something different than that.
Yeah.
The charter says the ORC puts together recommendations and gives them to the council for their consideration. Yeah. And so that's something that in the future, maybe as part of a charter change, that needs to, maybe that's something that needs to be evaluated, and then, but as part of that, I would assume that if I'm a member of the council and not the council president, I'd say, well, the only way I'd ever support something like that is if, instead of the council president unilaterally picking, it'd be the entire council gets to, be a part of that process. So they'd feel more buy-in on it. So just in fairness to the councilors, I mean, I think the charter as it's written right now makes crystal clear that they have a role in it. And, and again, how I would vote might be different than how somebody else would vote. But that doesn't make my vote right and their vote wrong, because they got to come at it from whatever angle they think is right.
You're right, Jeff. There are rules written. And actually the other part of it, Scott, is that, they were elected by the people. Now, some in this current council's makeup, 2 were actually elected and ran and ran against someone. One was appointed. So you could make the case that they, on that alone, they might want to push that forward without much change. I mean, I get what's written on the paper, but there is right and wrong in this case. And you may want to call it a matter of opinion, but maybe we put the question first on the ballot. Should the people get to vote on it as is? Let the people decide, right? And then,
Right.
maybe we should have doubled the questions or something. But on this note, though, Jeff, I want to ask you this, because one of the proposals that I had made I had brought up on the ORC, and we're going to hopefully be voting on, is changing the term for the counselors from 4 to 2 years in the interest of driving more interest for the entry style person. But on your end of things as a state rep, how would you feel if the question came up of extending the term for state reps and only having to campaign every 4 years?
So, I mean, obviously that would require a state constitutional change. I mean, I think 2 years, it's like you just get in there and all of a sudden you're almost right back into campaign mode again. Because if you think about it, you get a lot, let's say, for all intent and purposes, you win the primary, you win the election in probably 90% of the legislative districts. So if you win the primary in September, you get sworn in the following January, and then all of a sudden, a year later, somebody's announcing that they're running against you and you're campaigning before that September. And so it does happen really quick. But on the other hand, it forces reps and senators. I mean, I think I'd probably support a constitutional change to sort of make the Senate a little bit, a 4-year term, something like that. But I think it forces reps to pay attention. It forces you to take the phone. I mean, I didn't shut my phone off when I came here. I can't tell you how many phone calls I got from people like in the district asking a question about Short Beach and Riviera is just absolutely terrible. DCR hasn't cleaned it. About the stairs in Winthrop Beach having been taken out by the DCR and taken access away. So, getting those phone calls, or, I don't want to, a woman that's got a family member in need. Hey, can you help with this? So to be able to pick up the phone, take those calls and then call back. I think people appreciate the fact that even when I'm on vacation, I've kept myself available. And, if you had a 4-year term, maybe you'd say, you know what, you don't need to do that. I mean, for some people running unopposed, you wouldn't do that. But I think it's important to be who you are and who you told the people you would be, which was accessible and available. So
you did
I don't
say that
I
last
don't
time,
support a 4-year term for reps, but I would for senators.
and you did say that last time you were on. You said, running unopposed, but you're still going to give the job 100%. There's no slacking.
Yeah, and that's how you went. By showing up, you make a difference. There's one quick thing. The city of Riviera for 100 years has had a fire station in the Point of Pines.
Oh, yeah.
During the blizzard of 1978, that fire station, because of its position in the land, height wise, was the safe harbor for all the people. They could move their cars there. They could go to the fire station for help. So the fire station outlived its useful life. It gets torn down. The city for 5 years now has been working to get approval to be able to build a new fire station. So they go through the permitting process. They get it approved. What happens, Jessica Giannino, who represents the Pines now, I'll represent them in January. She goes out and she gets special legislation to resolve a land dispute with DCR and the city of Riviera. We're going to build this fire station. What happens? DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, files an appeal of the orders of condition, stopping the whole project, putting it at risk for another full year. And they did that saying, well, we want to know if we think the fire station is going to be in the flood zone, and how's it going to impact the area, the Point of Pines neighborhood. And so they had a meeting down there. And so I went, showed up at the meeting and listened to them talk, and sat in the background and finally said, I'd like to be heard. And the fire chief, Chris Bright, a longtime friend of mine since I was a kid, says, this is our rep, Jeff Turco. They're, oh, Representative, we're so sorry. Thank you for being here. So, well, if you wanted me to be here, you would have sent me an invitation. But you didn't send one to Senator Edwards. You didn't send one to Rep Giannino. You didn't send one to me. You insulted all three of us. All three of us are extremely upset. And I'm here speaking on all three of our behalfs, saying, enough. This is wrong. I said, if you're concerned, rightfully so, from the environmental perspective, the environment means nothing to these people if they burn to death in a fire and you can't get a fire truck here. So you came here on a Wednesday afternoon, I think it was, at 10 a.m. and said, do me a favor, come here on Saturday or Sunday when it's 90 degrees and see what the traffic's like on Revere Beach. Try to get a fire truck from Central Fire Station down here, or from Fremont Street down here. These people, you're going to kill someone. Well, by the end of the day, DEP looked at it, and after talking to the engineers, and they said they withdrew their appeal of the fire stations going forward. You got to show up to get stuff like that done. And when the fact that Jessica, Lydia, and I work so well together, frankly, I think helps make that happen as well. Because people see that even though we may come at things, from a different ideological perspective, when it comes to Winthrop and Revere, we're pretty much united on almost everything.
Really,
So,
that's good to know.
So what's when you come back from the City of Lights?
Yeah.
What's on your what's on your agenda? What do you have coming up?
So I fly in. I think I land at 5:30 at Logan, and I my dear friend Sheriff Tom meet and greet in Winthrop, at the Winthrop Arms at 6 o'clock, and he had asked me before he knew where I was going. He asked me if I would be one of the speakers at the event. I said, "Of course I will, Sheriff. The only caveat is if my flight gets delayed." So I'm literally going to go right from Logan Airport, right from Paris to the Logan Airport, right to the Winthrop Arms, my first stop, to say a few words for a guy that I think is just, the most difficult job. And I don't want to make this a plug about Sheriff Tompkins, but I got to tell you, the most difficult job in public safety is a correctional officer. And I love police officers and firemen and fire personnel. But at the end of the day, every minute of every shift of every day, these guys and gals are surrounded by bad guys or people in trouble. And, to have a sheriff like Steve Tompkins, who's gone and sort of worked with his staff to sort of change the dynamic and remind people that, most of the people that go into a county jail, most of them, 90% of them, are coming out. They're doing short stints in the jail. They're our friends, they're our family, or our neighbors. That's either because of substance issues.
Yeah.
Am I having trouble or are you having trouble?
You did, but not anymore. You're good.
Yeah. We see you.
Oh, he's having trouble. He might be.
Oh, is that me?
It's you.
I got in. Is it me? I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. So am I back?
Yep.
Yeah, it's that French Wi-Fi.
Believe me, I've been trying to use Verizon for half a gigabyte, $10. I'm like, oh my God. I keep saying, and of course their Wi-Fi doesn't have the security settings. So when I try to send it to the State House email, I can't check my email. So I have to do it on my Verizon.
Oh, wait, we're sharing state secrets here.
Yeah. I'm like, not on.
Just don't leave your laptop there.
Yeah.
Oh, look, the calls are coming in.
Hold on, we got a call, Jeff. Hold on. You're on the Winthrop Votes live stream.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Hi,
Hey,
Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen. How are you?
Oh, living the dream, sweetheart.
Good.
I'm not sure if you want to, I mean, you probably have for one race, but I think, there's two important races going on. One, which I think is frankly one of the most important races maybe in a decade, and that's for Suffolk County DA. I'll be forthright. I'm endorsing Kevin Hayden, our current DA. There's, been a really tenuous, back and forth with, the Arroyo campaign. So I was wondering, if you would like to say anything about that campaign or that race, because I think, frankly, very similar to the state auditor race, on the Democratic primary side with Chris Dempsey, and I'm forgetting the other lady's name, or she's a senator, which I completely apologize. Yes, sorry. So I think these are two really important races, again, especially the DA's race. But I also don't think they're frankly they're seeing, a lot of light when it comes to, Boston news. But they're frankly not, being publicized terribly much. In Winthrop, Revere, Chelsea, other parts of Suffolk County. So I was wondering if you would like to discuss any opinions on these races, and just where you think, because again, I think especially the Suffolk County DA's race is really one of the most important races we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, no, listen, absolutely. I could not agree with you more. I think the most consequential election that we're going to have this fall is not for governor, it's not for auditor, it's not for attorney general, but it's for Suffolk County District Attorney for the people of our area. When you look at the two candidates, it's night and day. And I support Kevin Hayden. I think I met Kevin once he got appointed. He reached out to me. We started talking. His story is impressive. The man himself is, he's impressive. He's a good person that has a balance between, I don't want to sound like, that balances empathy with law enforcement, but understands that it's no service to the people of this area to have the view that nobody should be in jail. You know what? The sad commentary and the sad is somebody who ran a prison for 5 years. There are people that need to be in jail, and for the most part, the people of Winthrop, regardless of who wins the DA's race, will be perfectly fine. What I'm concerned about are the people of Revere, who I think will just have a major problem. Chelsea and Boston, we're somewhat isolated and protected here in Winthrop, and then in terms of the recent news stories on Ricardo Arroyo, normally I wouldn't comment on stuff like that, because I take the view that you're innocent until proven guilty. I don't like things coming up at the last minute, but the fact that he said he didn't know anything about the investigations, that this was all a stunning surprise to him, and then he turns around and calls one of the alleged victims, to me that that just goes to show that there's a level of untruthfulness to what he has said that makes him unworthy, not only of being the district attorney, but frankly makes him unworthy of being a city councilor. And I think that that's something that he could be my DA, but I think that that is a disqualifier for him, in my opinion. And I hope the people of Winthrop, Revere, and Suffolk County, hear me and hear Senator Edwards, who's been a forceful advocate for him, and Rep. Giannino and Mayor Arrigo, all have come out for Kevin, because they realize what the stakes are. We don't want to be overrun like San Francisco. We don't want to be overrun like Los Angeles. We don't want to be overrun like we're seeing in New York City. We don't need that here in Boston and in Suffolk County. The stakes are that high. So you asked about the auditor's race. I am supporting one of the candidates in the race. I'm certainly not as passionate, because I don't think it affects Winthrop and Revere as much, but I'm supporting Chris Dempsey. I know him and Diana. I think that I just have come down that I think Chris has the better record of actually getting stuff done, rather than just talking about what he or she wants to do. And so I think based on that, I've made the decision. And Chris frankly worked it. Chris reached out to me 3 or 4 or 5 times to talk with me when he got some support from groups that raised some concern with me. I reached out to him and said, "Whoa, what is going on here?" And he talked about, "Look, I'm a big tent guy. I'm talking to you, Turco, and I'm talking to these people on the other side of the tent." And and so I admire the fact that he didn't hide from me challenging him on, "Wait a minute, are you a guy that's going to call balls and strikes and go in there as auditor and make sure that the people's money is being used as it's supposed to be?"
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
And on that note, we are trying to get schedules lined up with Kevin, right, Scott?
Yeah. Someone's been talking to his chief of staff, but it just seems to be a juggling act. So I'm still working on it.
He can do an off night too. But yeah, it's election season. His schedule's probably pinned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody asked a question about the Volk School. I talked to the superintendent right before I left, who I used to play Pop-Warner football with when we were kids in Revere. But I don't know the exact time frame. I'll get it so you can report it in your next show. But everything, I mean, all systems are a go. There's nothing that's holding them up. Things are moving forward with the process. And the one piece that I'm working on with a bunch of colleagues is to try to ease the financial burden on the cities and towns by coming up with more state money. We got $100 million put aside to help offset some of the costs of the construction for 3 of the schools. We're hoping to get another $200 million more. So that's something that we'll be working on next year.
Have you been working on anything with the traffic in Winthrop and the T being shut down and the transportation, et cetera?
Well, I've been working with the T leadership on, because I mean, they put aside the shutting down of the orange line, the pending potential shutdown of the red line while they fix problems there. I mean, they'd come up with this proposal to reroute Winthrop, which in essence would eliminate bus service to the point. It would be a disaster for they said, when I talk to people over there, well, it's only a short walk. I said, yeah, go try to walk that in the blistering summer heat. Go try to walk it in a freezing cold day with the wind and snow. It's insulting. And I said, and by the way, you don't even list Winthrop on the on your website when it comes to changed routes. And they said, oh, that's because we folded you into East Boston because that's where your buses. I said, do you realize what a slap in the face that is to the people of Winthrop that you change our bus routes or propose to change them and you didn't even list us? 3 minutes later, I get a call back saying, Rep, it's all set. Go online. It says Winthrop in East Boston. I said, but, you got to think this stuff through. I mean, you do have somebody, frankly, on the council that's pretty knowledgeable on this stuff. He served on the fiscal control board with Councilor Joe Aiello. I think that he will be a good resource for the town to help deal with some of those issues going forward. He has a lot of credibility because of his prior service, a lot of connections. So I think that that's going to help. We did put, Senator Edwards took the lead on, I think it's $25 million for ferry service. There's $1 million straight up money for this fiscal year, for ferry service, expanded ferry service in Winthrop to make sure that it's going to happen. But at the same time, there's also $25 million in a bond bill to increase and improve ferry service as far up as Gloucester, coming down through Revere, Quincy, Boston, East Boston. I mean, it's pretty, people are looking at it and saying, we need to invest in ferry service and making it, but people want consistent, they want reliable. It can't be like the problem with Winthrop running the service right now is you have one boat, the boat breaks down. Well, you don't want to go there and find out, oh, sorry, the boat broke down. Well, if the T's running it like they should, it's part of the overall service that they provide. Once we can get the T to actually take over the running of the ferry service, they'll have backup boats, they'll have backup contracts that Winthrop just is not in a financial position to do, and so they can turn around and run it. And I've heard people say, well, it's going to be run at a loss. Well, public transportation isn't necessarily. I mean, the post offices run at a loss. It's one of the few constitutional duties that the federal government has, is to build the roads, deliver the mail, and defend us in time of war. And so, if to me, the same thing at the state level. The state, I think, has a duty. One of its duties is to provide public transportation, and it's not about we don't sit there and say, well, we lose money on police service, we lose money on fire service. Well, I mean, the MBTA helps the economy of this region and is an economic catalyst for the region, and we can't look at it purely as it's got to make it, it can't lose money. It's not supposed to make money. Right. It'd be nice if we can get it to the point we're not that we can break even, but that's another story.
I'm not looking at it to make money or even break even here. I'm I'm just going to say it. I'm looking for some of the mess and crazy corruption and garbage that happens to stop.
Yeah.
And I'll because that's part of my problem. And anyone who knows me knows public service, service is not necessarily a word that you could use to describe what you get in a lot of cases. And the T is one of those
Hold on, Todd.
examples.
You're on the Winthrop Votes live stream.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
Good. Who's this?
This is Sean Hickey calling.
Sean, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
All right.
Representative Turco, how
Yes.
would you feel about dissolving the T?
About the what?
Representative Turco, how would you feel about dissolving the T?
Dissolving
how would
the
you-
T.
It's interesting. Bill Strauss, who's the chairman of the House Transportation Committee, brought that up at a hearing, and the governor jumped at it and said it might actually be a good idea because it'll force whoever the governor is. He's leaving, so it's not like he's trying to do a power play. He said it'll force what I heard him say was that it would force the governor, just like they're more accountable with the registry of motor vehicles and mass highway. It would force the governor to be directly more accountable. I think it's an interesting thought. I haven't looked through completely. I met with somebody from the Commons Union, and I threw it out at him. So, what do you think of Chairman Strauss's thing? He said, "Well, you couldn't do it because the MBTA has bond obligations, and that I don't know if that's really the a correct statement." And I told him that because, for example, when the Mass Turnpike Authority was dissolved, there were bonds. They would just recast in terms who was responsible, with the Commonwealth assuming them or the Massport assuming them. So I think it's worth looking at, saying, is that a way that would make them more efficient in terms of, and more accountable? It's not about, it's not even about efficiency at this point. It's about the accountability. I will say the executive director there is someone I've known for years. I think he's an extremely competent guy, but it's Steve Poftak. But you got to make sure you have, if you have a system that's built around you, it's tough to be a one-man show to get it changed. So maybe if you were out of a private, maybe if you weren't, the T wasn't its own separate entity, maybe there would be more accountability.
The problem everyone faces that takes on executive director style roles in the T is that the politicians who have influence over the MBTA are getting huge amounts of donations and political money, free door knocking time, sign holding, and all this other stuff from the labor unions. And so the labor unions are telling them who and what to do and what to talk to and what jobs to create and how to slow down a project. That's what's going on. And politicians don't want to bring it to court.
Listen. I don't know if that's necessarily fair. I'll give you an example. I said that I sat with somebody from the Commons Union. They can give me $500 a year. I don't want to brag, but I raised $100,000 this year. They gave me $500. If you think that my view on whether the T should be privatized or not, or whether the T should be dissolved and made into a state department is going to change over a $500 contribution, then I say go and elect somebody else.
Well, I don't think that.
No, I know that, but that's what I'm saying to you. Listen, organized labor certainly has a lot of influence. I don't.
It's outsized.
Always has, though. It always has.
Right, but that's the nature of Massachusetts. That's they have influence. And one reason is because there's so many people who support them, and so. And again, there's differences too. Let's face it. I know, your issue has been the teachers unions, but they're far different than the people that supported me. By and large, were the working unions. And that sounds bad to say that, but we're like the building trades unions. Those are people that work in the private sector that need to make sure that buildings can be built, that construction can be done, or their members don't work, and so I'm sort of simpatico with them because that's who I grew up with, as my neighbors and my friends' parents who went and made good livings. And frankly, I think that's making a comeback today. You look at these kids that are getting screwed, frankly, going to college, graduating with a degree from the College of Basic Studies at BU and owing $380,000 a year. Forgive me for picking on BU, but it's like we need to do something. And one of the things I'm going to work on is legislation for next year, and who knows how far it'll get. But is to say that any college in Massachusetts that raises their tuition above the rate of inflation over a 3-year rolling average, that their endowments get taxed. Because it's just at this point, these colleges are robbing our children. They're robbing our kids. And the idea
We're
that
well past that point.
Yeah,
That happened
it's
a long time
outrageous.
ago.
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous. And you listen to schools like Harvard and BU, and will come out and say, well, we use our endowment, don't tax us. We use our endowment money to help underprivileged kids. Real leadership is about, look at Purdue University. Anybody that's got a kid that's thinking of going to college, look at Purdue University in Indiana, one of the top public schools in the country. 13 years, the president of that school has not raised tuition or fees. It's cheaper to go to Purdue today than it was 13 years ago. Send your kid to Purdue. It's outrageous.
You got my governor down here, DeSantis. He put a cap on college tuitions down here. That's it. Stop.
It really is just, I'll give you an example. Massachusetts, we gave the largest increase in public higher ed funding in the state budget ever this year. The day after the House announced our budget that was going to do that, UMass announced a 2.5% increase in tuition and fees, and they couldn't hold off another year because of, because of inflation. Well, you know what? I put in a budget amendment that said we ought to roll back their tuition and fees to the prior year's numbers. And the argument was, look, we've created 5 programs in the state budget to help people, teachers, social workers, probation officers, get student loans forgiven if they work nursing, if they work in the public sector, because we need to attract people to those jobs and they can't afford it because of the student loans. I said, well, let's get to the root of the problem. Waiving student loans and subsidizing student loans isn't solving the problem. We need to go after these colleges with no other industry in the entire country since 1970. None of them, have had their tuition and fees go up at the rate of inflation, at the rate that it has compared to any other industry. Gas, housing costs, you name it. Nothing's gone up like colleges. And it's just, at some point we need to hold them accountable and start listening to the dribble from them that it's about, reinvesting in their beautiful campuses. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
Sean, you still on the phone, Sean?
Sorry, Sean. We got far afield. We got far afield from the tee. I hope I did answer your question, though.
You have anything else?
Yeah, you did. So just one small question, Jeff. So let's say we did dissolve the tee. What exactly would happen?
Well, so here's a real practical example of what happened. When the Mass Turnpike Authority was dissolved as an authority, those employees, some of the employees, as part of the process, they basically eliminated jobs through like the toll taking jobs. They eliminated, my understanding is they offered them placement somewhere else. But in essence, they went to work, instead of being a Mass Turnpike employee, most of the employees wound up being Mass Department of Transportation employees, or they went to Mass Port. For example, if you were working collecting tolls on the bridge, you went to Mass Port. Things like that. Even early in that, I think it was in the mid 1990s, when county government was dissolved in most places in Massachusetts, like the sheriffs, all employees of the Worcester County Sheriff's Office, where I used to run, those employees were all county employees, and then the county just got dissolved, and they wound up becoming state employees. And so all their rights and privileges as members of unions, instead of bargaining with the local county, now they bargain with the state, with the Office of Employee Relations, that type of thing.
Well,
so I think that's what ultimately would happen. And then the leadership, instead of having a board of directors like the T, they would just have Steve Poftak, instead of reporting to his board, would turn around and report directly to the governor. And so then if there was a screw up or if there was a problem, the governor would say, hey, I've lost confidence. See you later. I'm going to put somebody else in, because people aren't going to sit there and say Steve Poftak screwed up. They're going to say Charlie Baker screwed up.
Right.
Makes perfect sense from me.
Thanks, Sean.
Boys.
All right,
Thanks,
buddy.
Sean.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks. Take care. Good to hear your voice.
There you go. So
Jeff, it's getting late your time.
I was just gonna say, let's.
Yeah.
Anything
Jeff,
else you want to add?
wanna
Anything you wanted to
thank
say
you.
you didn't say?
No,
I want to thank you for being a responsible, attentive representative for my hometown. This is unbelievable that you're doing this for this little live stream that I always say is moving the needle, though. In Winthrop, we got some people's attention, but I don't know how to thank you enough doing this from Paris. That's all.
well, listen, I got one request. Can I have you call me? It's 9 o'clock your time. Can you call me at midnight so I don't oversleep for my ride to Versailles in the morning?
Oh,
if my daughter misses Versailles, you're dead, Sacco.
oh my God! Here we go. Here we go.
She's
Hey,
not going
listen.
to let you oversleep, too. No way.
She's not. Yeah, she's not letting you oversleep. She's probably not even. Is she asleep right now?
She's gonna be mad at me.
Oh, she's gonna kill. She's gonna kill you. Oh my God!
With
Good
the
night,
phone in
Mary.
her hand.
Dude, that's the
Night,
best
Mary.
phone
That
in
is
hand.
so
That's
great.
My baby girl.
There you go, buddy. Well, listen, go to bed.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good
And,
talking to you. I look forward to doing this again.
Hey, you know what's interesting? You've been on twice as a state rep. Jim Lettieri's only been on once, and that was before he was even the town council president. Well, I don't know what's up with that.
Well, we better invite him on, Sacco. Come on.
I'm down there all the time, beating him over the head.
You're always looking for a free sandwich, I heard. Come on.
All right, Jeff.
Oh, here we go.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you very much.
Have a good night,
Yeah,
guys.
All right, good night.
Bye.
Jeff, thank you. Wow.
So, Todd's looking for a free sandwich.
What's wrong with this
Are you
guy?
charging Jim to come on the show for a free sub?
Yeah, that's it.
Free sub, and I'll put you on the show.
No, I told him, I said, I'll give you a free plug if you come on the show.
He does. We do have something over his head now. The state rep has been on twice.
Twice. Yep. State rep has been, it would have been really great if the Hayden thing works out. We could say state rep twice, Hayden once, you won't none.
Yeah, and Jim Lettieri is just no, we like Jim. We like Jim.
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, Rob DeMarco has talked to us more than Jim has.
Yeah, but he hasn't been on in a while. He's, the son of a gun.
Who, Rob?
Yeah, tonight he had
he called a couple weeks ago, didn't he?
right, but we haven't had him on like a guest,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
He had a meeting tonight at 7:00. What do you call it? A precinct meeting. I wonder how that went. If
It was a Zoom meeting, right?
Yeah, he did a Zoom meeting.
Excellent.
Tomorrow night, before I forget,
Yep.
I hope Kathleen's still watching. Anyone watching tomorrow night at 6:00 at the Harvey Room is the Rules and Ordinances Committee, and they are going to be talking about the ORC changes. I may live stream it. I don't know. But
You want people to
go.
go?
I want you to go, be heard. Tell these people to not put safeguards. You want to vote on the proposals as you see them. I put them up on the page. Read them. Maybe you do want some changes. You can suggest those too. But I have a funny feeling nobody wants to see restrictive language on a recall. What's the point, right? What was the point of all our work? Like, anyway.
Like I said, it's like voting for term limits. But anyways,
Yeah.
Hey, and I haven't, as you probably know, nor have you, Todd. You're doing your due diligence on your side. This 5 Fremont issue is not done. I am not done with this by a long shot. Evidently, one of the Cross family members went to town hall to request a copy of the building permit.
Okay.
To see who signed it. They told her you need to submit that in writing. What?
Why?
I don't know. Is the fix in? Is the block starting already? Is the cover starting already?
Well, okay, so that's a fair
related to
question based upon what you know. I did have one conversation with someone I trust who knows the developer and who says he certainly does not. He does not. He's not as he's coming across right now. This was a mistake by
It's
Legee.
a mistake. A mistake is when you spell my name with one T. That's a mistake.
Well, when you're cutting someone's fence, that's the part that I'm scratching my head about.
When you go right to the border of somebody's yard and then cut their fence to put the corner of that is not a mistake.
I'd like the guy to come on and talk to us, but my understanding is he's not that type.
It doesn't matter. Then he gets the reputation he deserves.
He's gonna get beat up. People here are gonna beat him up. I know.
Oh, and it's again, we are far, far from over with this. And we also have dumpster issues in Winthrop.
Yeah, well, what's going on with the dumpster issues?
Yeah, we'll keep going. I'll keep going. So we have somebody sent me a message this past week, in regards, and now Todd and I have talked about this. We feel it's our obligation. If you reach out to us, we're going to at least mention what you reach out, unless it's something way off the charts. They were like, no, we're not getting involved in that.
Yep.
But this person reached out to me, sent me a message about the dumpster that, and it gets interesting. The dumpster that is behind Nick's or in Michael's Mall. I'll put it up on the screen.
Oh my
God. If you look closely, let me take down Jeff's name. He's sleeping now. You know, if you look closely, there's a mattress in there.
Yep.
Like this is in Winthrop.
How long has that trash been sitting there? Do we know?
It's been there for a while. It as this person said, it's been there for a while. Now, I did a little digging, and someone said it's the owner of the mall property, who's also a developer, who supposedly dumps some of his stuff there. It has nothing to do with Winthrop trash or anything. There's a mattress in there. Like, what is that?
All right. So let's first just know a couple things. Depending upon who owns the dumpster, it actually doesn't matter. The dumpsters are a private contract outside of Winthrop. Just so is partly some of this people who are now paying trash fees. I don't know. Are they dumping their trash? But that would be on camera, I would imagine, right? So this may be the owner of Michael's Mall putting his trash. He pays for it.
It doesn't matter. This is a health issue. You need to keep this stuff tight.
It needs to be picked up now. Like this is not good.
This is rat heaven right here. You see that gray house up in the background? Rats will go over there. They will make their way to those buildings over if they haven't already.
Isn't that gray house the house?
What's that?
Isn't that gray house the cross house?
I don't think so, because there's not a monstrosity next to it.
Well, that building looks before the monstrosity was built.
Is the cross house a two-story?
And look at you see the yellow brick building there off to the left, right? See the 2 points above it? That's the Cummings. You're looking at this from Michael's Mall's on your right.
Okay.
And you're looking towards Town Hall.
Oh,
and that's the Cummings school with the mock E.B. Newton look.
Kurt says this has been brought up multiple times as an issue. Well, now it's an issue.
Yeah, that's a big issue. That's a lot.
So we have this, and then someone else. This was my week for dumpsters.
Okay, let's move
somebody
on.
else sent me this. This was down the point, and this just sat. It recently got moved, right? But this is what they left behind.
That was down Coughlin Park, and that was right.
Yes.
So okay, so you can have all right. So they must have had a permit for it, right? But they left the trash behind.
Isn't that town property?
Yes, that is town property. So if the town pulled a permit, well, we got to find out.
And also, along with that dumpster, that they left the debris behind.
Yeah, that's
you have this gem
and the Chevy.
According to the person that sent me these pictures, that's basically been there so long it's starting to sink into the dirt.
Yeah, rejected. Well, this is
what is
That's a rejected inspection sticker
from
from
2019.
19. So it's been sitting there for 3 years, give or take.
Does this make any sense? Like, who, what? Like, I don't know.
And is he on his own property line? Like, whose truck is that?
I don't know, but this thing sat there for a while, according to the person that contacted me.
So inspectional services enforcement needs to happen here. If it hasn't already. If anybody knows anything about this and we're wasting everybody's time and it's already handled, let us know.
The person that sent me these pictures said, to be clear, the land on which the dumpster and truck are or were located is town-owned property.
Okay.
The truck is still there. Truck is still there.
Yeah. It's
So I don't know what's going on. Who's in charge of this? Don't you have doesn't Winthrop have a code enforcement?
yeah, that should be, I think that's inspectional services, right? Because
Yeah.
pretty sure.
I mean, even when I lived in the city of Hollywood, they had code enforcement. They do their job. They come around and tell you, you got to take that car out of your front yard.
Yeah, that's clearly in the rules and ordinances too. Like, you can't have a car sitting on your front yard that's rotting away, and that's apparently not on their front yard.
And who?
Allegheny Inspectional Services.
Yeah, so here we go. Here we go. Is he?
He is. He's building.
Are you kidding me? This guy again. 5 Fremont screw up. Not a mistake. Not a mistake. We're going to find out who signed that permit. And if his name is on it, that wasn't a mistake. Number 2, dumpsters, public land, town land, car with the rejected 2019 sticker on it, sinking into in a beautiful area too.
Well, not so much now. It's got a
background is and it's what are we in? Up in the Appalachians?
Is that not the Beverly Hillbillies look or what?
Dumpsters should go to the Board of Health. Who's in charge of the Board of Health?
Allegheny. No. No. You know who that is? You know who that is?
Yeah.
Doc. Hey, Doc from Back to the Future.
Bill the Shill?
Bill the Shill Schmidt.
Maybe he's too busy. He's too busy helping Tracy Honan write up her proposal and getting all the other heads of the town groups to all get together and throw a coup against Jim Lettieri. His job.
You're an organizational activist move behind. Now he's trying to see if Jim had the legal right to make to appoint a new ORC committee. One that had me on it, of course, is probably the motivation.
So how's this? If anybody, wait, let me see. Do we have his email? Hold on.
Oh, I'm sure you can find it.
No, I think here it is right here. Here it is. I keep all this stuff.
Yeah, Bill Schmidt.
If you're watching, all right, if you're watching, send him an email. You're a resident, and ask him why he's not doing his job, why he's too busy being an activist and not the head of the Board of Health. Activism shouldn't play any role in Winthrop politics. Not even going to go national. Activism shouldn't play any role in Winthrop politics. Unfortunately, the town council has 5, the new squad, the Winthrop squad.
5 of them.
Activists. And they're going to vote in lockstep. And Bill Schmidt is right there behind them, sniffing away. So if you know, if send him an email, tell him what's going on down the point, why he doesn't know about it, why it sat there so long, and we'll see what he says. I guarantee you he doesn't respond because he's too busy being an activist.
Oh, yeah.
I just got a text message. Allegheny, Director of Inspectional Services. Yep. Kurt and like texter.
All right. So it's, right now, what is it? Once is a mistake, twice is a pattern, 3 times is a habit. Right. So we're on twice.
Yeah. This guy, 2 of those names, but this guy, Legee.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He made the mistake. The first mistake is 5 Fremont.
Mistake.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I
Hey,
hate
listen,
quotes, but you got to use it in this.
America, innocent until proven guilty, right? So, okay, fine. Mistake number 2 is this.
Yeah. Yep.
So 3 times is a habit. 3 times.
Mistake number 2 is this. You want to know what mistake number 1 was? This.
It's scarier when you show the corner of the building cut through the fence.
Right there. That's not a mistake.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's not a mistake.
That's terrible.
Right? Not a mistake.
Nope.
Not a mistake. That's lazy. This is laziness. And he's more than welcome to come on the show. More than welcome to come on and defend himself.
Yeah,
It's a civil conversation. But evidently he's not that kind of guy. So we show his mistakes.
No.
And Bill Schmidt. Too.
So wait a minute. I think that maybe that they're trying to turn. I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. Maybe the person that lives next to Coughlin Park wants to use Coughlin Park as their used car lot, and they're going to start selling used cars.
They are, but inspectional services should have saw that. That's their job.
I think there needs to be paving and lights and
job.
security.
Hey, listen, I'd love to have a job driving around the town of Winthrop. I don't know, 3 days a week for an hour is all it would take. Okay, give me 2 hours to drive around and look and say, that doesn't look right, because that's your job. This doesn't look right. Get that dumpster out of here. That area needs to be cleaned up. Maybe I should come out of retirement, move back to Winthrop.
Whoa. That'd be a little too much toxic masculinity in 02152. Actually, you should. Maybe the crazy people will pack up and go.
We'll see. Yeah, then they'll come down to Florida. I'm protecting Florida. This is Fort Apache, the Bronx down here, buddy.
Afraid. They're too scared of Florida. It's too crazy for them.
This is Fort Apache, the Bronx down here.
Yeah, Yahoo State. Yahoo.
All right. Well, listen, man. We will pick these dumpster issues up next week, and if anybody has nothing to do tomorrow, send Bill Schmidt an email, ask him what's going on with this dumpster and the other dumpster, and what is the Board of Health doing about this? Because this dumpster is a health issue.
Yeah,
this is a breeding ground for rats.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm also trying to line up a guest for next week potentially. So I'm trying to get the fire chief. Fire chief said he wants to come on. So let's go. Somerset Ave. We'll check that out. 35.
Somerset Ave. If you
I know whose building that is. We'll talk about this next week.
Send pictures, Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt, and come on the show next week to remind us about that, please.
All right, good. We got a show lined up next week.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Want to take us out?
Yeah, let's go. So again, just a quick recap, not even a recap. The Ordinance Review Committee, the work we did is going to be discussed tomorrow night at 6:00 at Rules and Ordinance. If you can make it, go. If not, zoom in. It's on the town website. Remember, all politics is local. And it starts here, starts at the local level, and it ends, in my opinion, it ends at the local level. Get involved, share what we're doing here. We're moving the needle. So please, and thank you for paying attention, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for telling people about us. 13,000 viewers, not viewers, that's not fair. Unique visits in the last 60 days is nothing to shake a stick at for a small little outfit like us.
Yeah. Yeah, and as far as views for the after views, we're in the thousands. So we're good. We're good. And like I always say, thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. Thank you for calling. Thank you for showing an interest. You are the engine that runs this machine. If it wasn't for you, it would be me and Todd talking, and well, we do that anyways. So yeah. It's sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's all right, buddy.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Everybody will